If you don't like your life or some aspect of it, why don't you change it? Like, why don't people change their life? Why do people do something that they clearly hate doing and then decide, well, I'm going to do this for the rest of my life? To me, that does not make sense. I remember the first job I got when I was in college, and I needed a job bad because I didn't have enough. My car was broken down. I had this apartment. I had to pay rent. I'm like on my own. I'm 900 miles from my parents. And I'm like, what am I going to do? I need a job. So my friend got me a job. And my friend was way bigger than me. He was probably 225 pounds then. And 6'2", and strong as an ox. And he got a job here. So he said, I'm going to see if I can get Myron a job here. Because he was like literally my best friend. And so he got me a job pulling sorghum on a sorghum farm in Lowell, Indiana in July. I literally thought I was going to, 5 minutes in, I knew it was a bad idea. This is not good. This is not good. You are not going to live through this day, bro. Like, it's hot. There's like eternal sorghum in this field. You're never going to pull it all. And I pulled sorghum for 8 hours. And I prayed and prayed and prayed, dear God, just let me live through this day. And I promise I will not tempt you by coming back here tomorrow. And I went to the boss when I got back to the barn and I said, thank you for this job. I really appreciate it. But I want you to know, even if you have to keep my money, I will not be back here tomorrow. Now, some people would say, that's crazy, but you needed a job. You didn't have any money. You probably didn't have much food in your refrigerator. Your car was broken down. Why would you quit the only job you had? Because I knew it was not what I was meant to do. God did not put me on this earth to be a farmer, and I didn't want to waste another day pulling sorghum. And I could have just said, well, this is the only job I can find. I could have said, $8 an hour in 1980 is good money. I could have said, all I got to do is show up and walk down these aisles and pull the sorghum and lay it on the ground. But when something isn't working, sometimes quitting is the best option. And I know. People say quitters never win and winners never quit. That's what I call a truism that isn't true. The reality is all winners quit. That's why they're winners. They quit doing stuff that don't add to their winning. They quit doing stuff that doesn't make them more of a winner. And I am here to tell you, unless you start figuring out what in your life doesn't fit in your purpose and let go of some of it, you are going to be miserable your whole life, and you don't have to be. I want to encourage all of you watching me on YouTube right now, all of you in this room right now, you can change your life. And as I said earlier, not on this video, but in this room today, if the part that's missing in your life getting better is not God's part. If God's already done his part, if you do your part, your life's going to get better. He made you for your life to get better. The very first thing he ever said to man was, be fruitful, multiply, replenish the earth, subdue it, and have dominion. That means human beings, God commanded them when he talked to them the first time, which means this is one of the most important things he's ever going to say to a human being. The first thing he said was, your life is supposed to be progressively productive. Your life is supposed to be producing more tomorrow than it did yesterday, next week than it did last week, next month than it did last month. Our lives, we were created to be becoming better. Why? Because we are made of flesh and blood, and our spirit lives in this flesh suit. And the flesh and blood part of us is not perfect. It's not that it's not perfect, it's not infinite in its ability, which means it always has potential to grow. Spirit is complete. Now, if you're separated from God because you don't know Jesus, then your spirit is not complete, okay? So I want to make sure we understand. You may disagree with me. You're entitled to do that. But when you make your video, say it how you say it. Okay. But the spirit part of you is the big part of you. The flesh part of you is the little part of you. The spirit part of you is the capable part of you. It's the part with all the potential. It's the part that has capacity, maximum capacity, which means that the physical part of you will never max out the spiritual part of you. Like there's always growth to be had regardless of how much you've already grown. And so I used to be a part of a financial services company when I first got started in financial services back in 1985. And Art Williams was the guy who started this company, A.L. Williams. And one of the things he used to say, he said, life will give you what you'll fight for, life will give you what you'll accept. I'm thinking, what is he talking about? Why, is it going to give you what you fight for, or is it going to give you what you accept? And the answer is yes. It's going to give you what you fight for, or it's going to give you what you accept. And see, if you're unwilling to fight for it, that means you're willing to accept it. And if you're unwilling to accept it, that means you're willing to fight for it. And see, some people don't like the word fight. Now, I'm a very peace-loving person. I love people. I love peace. I'm not violent at all. I lamented. I did it, and it's all I could think of to do because I was in a hurry and I was late. And YouTube, forgive me. But I thought there was a bug in my bedroom last night, and I attempted to kill it because I don't want it in my bedroom. And then I couldn't find it. I'm like, okay, well, it's gone. Whatever it was, it's gone. But this morning, I picked up my shoe, and this little lizard runs out. It wasn't a bug. It was a lizard. I'm like, only in Florida do you have lizards in your bedroom. I don't even want to think about the ramifications of that. I don't want to think about what else could have been in my bedroom that's also reptilian, right? And so I'm thinking to myself, I don't want to kill this lizard, but I can't leave it in my bedroom because if I leave it in my bedroom, when my wife gets back in town, I'm going to have a lizard in my bedroom. And if she sees it, she's not going to freak out, but she's going to want me to find it. And I'm not going to pick up a lizard. I used to pick them up, but I'm not picking up a lizard. I know some of y'all are thinking, why not? Because that brother man don't pick up lizards. So I'm like, I was so sad, but I got to kill this lizard. Otherwise, it's going to be here haunting me. I'm going to be haunted by a little lizard. And I was sad that I had to kill it. I killed it. I did. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, all the lizard lovers in the world. I didn't want to kill it. But this lizard got to go, and I don't have time to chase it around and try to catch it and get it at. Anyway. Life will give you what you'll fight for, accept, or life will give you what you'll fight for. And that lizard was probably not the best illustration of that, but I remember. I know it seems like I don't really feel badly about killing a lizard, but I really do. Because I don't want to kill anything. I don't want to kill it, but I don't like to fight, but I don't mind. Right? And, I don't ever want to get in a fight with you. With anybody. But if I do, be prepared. That's all I'm going to say. Be prepared. It's not going to be fun. It's not going to be fun for either one of us. But it's really not going to be fun for you. Why? Because my parents told us, do not run from a fight. My mom and my dad, I can remember both of them quoting, I don't know if you remember this or not, Rob, but I can remember this coming out of their mouth more times than once. I ain't raising no punk. Now, some of y'all may not like that language. But when my mom, who was 5'5" or 5'4" or 5'2", I don't know, she was shorter than me. When she said I ain't raising no punk, she wasn't shorter than me when she said that. But you get a whooping out there, you're gonna get another one when you come home. Now, I wouldn't parent like that. What do you, boo, and let your child turn out like they turn out? But we turned out not to run from, not to hide from, not to back down from a fight. Now I ain't gonna start a fight, but I will finish one. And so, what's going to happen in your life when the circumstances of your life are the opposing enemy? And they are threatening the experiential nature of you and your family. Are you going to capitulate and hide? Well, are you going to stand up and fight tooth and nail to produce the outcome you desire? Because whichever one of those you decide to do, that's which one you're going to get. Because life will give you what you'll accept, or life will give you what you fight for. How is it that somebody like Frederick Douglass, who was born into slavery, do you understand when you were born a slave in the United States of America, your chances of survival were slim to none. Your chances of freedom were not much better, and your chances of like turning your life around seemed almost impossible. But this man was born a slave, and his master's wife was teaching him how to read. And his master caught his master's wife teaching him how to read, and he flipped out. He said, "Woman, what are you doing? You can't teach these slaves to read. If you teach them to read, they will discover books and they will find out that the world is so much bigger than the world they live in now, they will never be content to be a slave again." And he said, "Whatever you do, don't ever let a slave read the Bible." I'm like, that's fascinating. Now, Frederick Douglass was about 6 years old when this happened, because he didn't really know how old he was, because you didn't have birthdays and birth certificates, and when you're a slave, you just existed. And this boy at 6 years old decided, with his new awareness, if the person who owns me and treats me like an animal and could sell me away from my mother or my mother away from me, if he's that dead set against me learning how to read, it is absolutely the most important thing I must learn how to do. And Frederick Douglass worked in the big house. And he would take the leftovers from the big house and he would give them to the poor white children in the neighborhood in exchange for them teaching him how to decipher letters. And every time he found a piece of paper on the ground or a book or a piece of a newspaper, he would take it back to his room at night and by candlelight in his slave quarters, practice his reading. The man became such an articulate orator and author. When I read his autobiography when I was in my 20s, I had to look up words that I didn't know what they meant. This is a person who had a hopeless life, and a life there was nobody coming for him. There's nobody coming to rescue him. And yet he said, "This is not what I was made for." Like, I get it. Your circumstances are not ideal. My circumstances were not ideal. I get that. But that's not the end of the story. That's just the part of the story. Do you realize that if you didn't have haters, you couldn't have elevators, and you couldn't have celebrators? Think about it. The reason we call it a championship is because you have a formidable foe. The reason we call it a championship is because you have somebody opposing you and opposing your objectives that's equally or more equipped than you are. They're equally equipped to stop you from achieving that objective. Do you realize if Jesus didn't have haters, he would have never been crucified? The pit and Potiphar's house and the prison are the things that prepared Joseph to become the prime minister. And see, we want to get to the top without the crawling through the glass at the bottom. But the difficulty at the bottom is the thing that makes us strong enough to stay there when we get there to the top. And some of us, we're lamenting our lamentations and we're cursing our curses and we're so burdened by our burdens that what we don't do is we don't gain strength from them and realize, hey, I've got to make my life better. This is the catalyst. This is the fuel. This is the inspiration. This is the motivation. This is the thing that's letting me know I can't stay here for the rest of my life. So why don't people change it? Like Frederick Douglass changed. He didn't go from being a slave to being free. He went from being a slave, he bought his freedom, had it stolen from him, bought it again, had it stolen from him, bought it again. He had to buy his freedom 3 times. He became an emancipator. He went around giving speeches and was instrumental in ending antebellum slavery in the United States of America. He gained an audience with the Queen of England and the President of the United States. This is a kid who was born a slave. And then we think we have an excuse. Well, maybe we don't have an excuse, but the actual reason is we don't take reading as seriously as Frederick Douglass did. Because maybe the very same reading dynamic that gave Frederick Douglass the awareness to make a decision and set an intention to change his life, maybe he found it in the pages of something he read. Myron, what are you saying? The book you don't read can't help you. If you read it, it might not help you. But if you don't read it, it ain't gonna help you. And so why is it that some people, their lives change? Because some people care enough to change their lives. Some people are like, okay, life, put up your dukes. I gotta wrestle it from you. Let's wrestle. What we got to put on the boxing gloves. Let's put on the gloves. Like whatever we've got to do, it's worth it. Like when I look in the faces of my children, I could not look at them and tell them you can do anything you want to do and you can be anything you want to be while they watch me do nothing and be nothing. No, that's not gonna be how this story plays out. I'm gonna demonstrate to them that the words that I come out of my mouth are not do what I do, not as I say, do what I do, but even more so do what I say, but even more so do what I do. Like the Apostle Paul said, the things that you've both heard and seen in me do. Oh, Paul set the example. So Frederick Douglass changed. Like Oprah Winfrey, they said she was unfit for television. But now she owns her own network. Why? Because she was unwilling to accept that, so she was willing to fight for it. So, why don't people change their lives? That's the question. Why don't they? Why haven't I changed my life more? Why haven't you changed your life more? Why haven't we changed our lives more? Well, I think one reason people don't change their lives is because they don't think they can. They bought into the lie of the identity. What's the lie of the identity? All of us have had people in our lives at some point in our lives in the past tell us that we are not enough, something enough. Not tall enough, not short enough, not pretty enough, don't sing good enough, don't dance good enough, not smart enough, not strong enough, not coordinated enough. You are not enough. We've all heard it. If you buy that lie, it'll cost you too much. Because that has never been the message that God has given you. In fact, you are enough for the assignment for which he created you. And that's all that matters. It doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. And so if you buy into the identity, it could literally cost you everything. Okay, cool. So you've got people think they can't change their lives. That's one reason they don't change. Number two, they don't know how. And I get it, because I always believed I could change my life. I can't think of a time. I could think of a time when I was so discouraged that I felt like it wasn't working. And that was after it had already worked, right? That was after it had already worked. But I can't think of a time when I've ever believed, my life is not going to get better. I've always believed it. But for a long time, I believed it and I didn't know how to do it. So guess what? My belief in the fact that I could do it caused me to keep looking for answers to how to do it. See, if you don't believe you can do it, you don't have a reason to look. So people who don't believe they can do it are not going to look for the answers to how they can do it, so they never change their lives. They just keep on living Groundhog Day. Every day is just like yesterday, and the day before, and the day before, and the day before, and they put their days on rinse and repeat until they die, so most people really never live. They just exist their way through life. And people say, what do you do for a living? That's a really lame question. What do you do for a living? Let me ask you a more valuable question, if I may. What do you do while you're living? What do you do while you're living? Because most people do something for a living and do nothing while they're living. But I believe that the quality of a person's life is not measured by the number of years of experience a person has doing a thing, but by the number of experiences we put in those years. How many experiences? I want to max out all of my experiences of all my days every day. And I'm freakishly obsessive about this. I'm just keeping it real. Freakishly obsessive. Say, Myron, what does that mean? If I go to a restaurant, because I love food, and food to me is an experience. I appreciate the fact that God didn't make us like a car that can't taste its fuel, right? A car doesn't get excited about going to the gas station. It doesn't care. But man, when I'm fueling up, it's about to be on. We about to have a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and some of this over here, some of that. We're going to add some salt and pepper to it, add a little spice, a little flavor, a little kick. Yeah. So when I'm eating, for me, it's so crazy. I'll be outside playing golf, and I have like 2 or 3 cups of ice water at all times. I'm like, you've never seen anybody get so excited about drinking water. I'll drink a glass of water, and I'm like, this water is so good. It's so wet. I love the wetness of water, right? And And people probably look at me like, this dude is out of his mind. I'm savoring the experience of drinking water. I'm savoring the experience of eating a meal, which is why when I go to a restaurant and the service starts out bad, I leave. It's not going to get better. So I leave. I'm like, unless it's like one of my favorite restaurants and they give me a server that I don't like, I'll just ask them to change the server. You say, you don't like servers? Yeah. I don't like servers who don't serve, who want me to serve them because they think that's what, no. Anyway, they don't think they can, they don't know how. So because I believed I could, I looked everywhere. I'm still looking everywhere. My life is fairly good. Okay, it's better than fairly good, it's really good. But as good as it is, it could become exponentially better. And if it could, why wouldn't I want it to? And so I'm always reading, I'm always learning, I'm always looking for the answers I don't know. I'm not satisfied with the answers I know. I'm not satisfied with the abilities I have. I'm thankful for them, I'm grateful for them, but they are not enough. Why? Because I was commanded by God to be progressively productive, which means I'm supposed to be getting better every day. Okay, so they don't know how. They don't believe they can. Sad but true. They're afraid to leave the familiar behind. They're afraid that if I change and nobody changes with me, I'll be all by myself. That's real talk. If I change and my kids don't change, now my kids are going to be alienated. If I change and my friends don't change, now my friends are going to think I think I'm better than they do. If I change and my brothers and my siblings and my parents and my family doesn't change, now I'm going to be by myself in the world. If that's the price you have to pay to be progressively productive, I'm telling you, pay the price. I'm not saying leave people behind. Invite them to come along. But leave that decision to them. Because if you got to drag them in, you got to drag them around. And that's exhausting. I am, if I could give you a gift, and I can't, but if I could, I would give you the gift to believe in your ability to change your life. Because I know you can. And I don't know you can based on theory, based on a book that I read that was written by a guru. I know you can because I've seen it happen over and over in my own life and in the lives of other people that I've served and served with. And I'm telling you, your life can get better. Don't stop believing. Don't stop growing. Don't stop reading. Life will give you what you'll accept, or life will give you what you'll fight for. Don't accept that enough is enough. Always fight for more. That's my encouraging word for you today. I hope it blesses you beyond measure. And in the meantime, in between time, we'll see you on the next video. Bye for now. A couple of videos ago, I started a series on 20 wealth secrets that'll make you rich in your 20s. And they're based on the 4 levels of value, implementation being the lowest level of value, then unification being the second level, and then communication being the third level, and imagination being the highest level. We're doing 5 different secrets for each level of value. And so we've already done, we started at the top with imagination, and then we did communication. Now we're going to do unification. And this is one of the most important components of success in general is unification. And when I say unification, people don't know what I mean, because when I say unification, I'm talking about the 4 levels of value. I often talk about management skills. But when I talk about unification, I'm talking about congruency. I'm talking about alignment. I'm talking about not having internal conflicts and not having external conflicts, like things working in harmony. I'm talking about like harmony and symphony. I'm not just talking about managing a bunch of people to do a bunch of things. You also have to manage yourself to do a bunch of things. You also have to manage yourself. And you have to manage your emotion, and you have to manage your aspirations and all of this other stuff. And so this whole thing about being congruent is very, very important, even from a biblical perspective, because the scripture tells us in James chapter 1, it says, if any of you lack wisdom, let him ask of God, who giveth all men liberally and upbraideth not, and it shall be given him. And then it says, but let him ask in faith, nothing wavering. In other words, like ask with faith and no doubt. Ask in faith and no doubt. No doubt at all. Not a little bit of doubt, not a lot of doubt. It says, but let him ask in faith. It's like the guy that prayed, Lord, I believe, but help thou mine unbelief. This is not that. Fear not, only believe. right? And he said, see, if any of you lack wisdom, let him ask of God, but let him ask in faith, nothing wavering, for he that wavereth is like a wave of the sea, driven with the winds and is tossed. And then it says, a double-minded man is unstable in all of his ways. That's a lot of instability. You're unstable in all your ways? Like, everything's unstable. When you're double-minded, everything in your life is unstable. Your family's unstable, your friendships are unstable, your finances are unstable, your fitness is unstable because you're double-minded. You can't make up your mind. So you're attempting to go in two directions at the same time. So when I talk about unification, I'm not just talking about managing people. I'm talking about unification of passion and purpose. I'm talking about unification of desire and expectation. And so we have to have this high level of unification. And because if you go around, and here's what a lot of people do. This is one of the reasons why I'm not terribly crazy about affirmations as a strategy for achievement. I do like affirmations as a strategy for changing your perspective. But I don't like affirmations as a strategy like, I'm just going to affirm this thing and I'm going to keep saying it over and over and it's going to eventually become true. Well, not if you don't believe it, it's not. Because if you're saying, oh, I'm going to do X, Y, Z, and you have next to zero internal belief that you are going to achieve X, Y, Z, it's not just the lack of belief that's keeping you from having it. It is the incongruency that comes, it's the disparity between the words that you're saying and the belief that you're carrying. And that disparity is creating instability that won't let you build anything substantive on top of it. When you're in your 20s, this is for anybody in any age, but like I could have done a lot of the things I'm doing now in my 20s. And some people say, when they ask me, if you could go back and talk to your 20-year-old self, what would you say? And when they ask me that question in a business context, I would say, you're going to get rich. Do it sooner rather than later, because the sooner you get it done, the longer you get to enjoy it with the people you love the most. Even though that's what I would have told my 20-year-old self, there is an aspect of me that's glad my 20-year-old self did not understand that. You say, how could there be an aspect of you that's glad your 20-year-old self didn't understand that? Well, because had I understood it when I was 20, I would not have had to learn a lot of the lessons I had to learn in order to know what I know now if I had known it when I was 20. And so it's like the valley of all of the difficulty that we face when we're younger and don't know the answers, that's the place where God prepares us for what he has prepared for us. And so we have to realize that, yeah, I would have liked to have gotten it done sooner, but the fact that I didn't contributed to who I am and where I am now. So even though I didn't max out my potential in my 20s, I have so much to be grateful for as a result of not having done that. So I think I'm telling you that so that those of you who are in your 30s, 40s, and 50s don't beat yourself up because you didn't know it in your 20s. So 5 secrets for unification so that I can become more congruent, so that I can achieve stability in these areas of my life in which I'm working. The first thing I'm going to say is this: get in alignment with your assignment. What does that mean? Well, you were created for a purpose. We all were. And the one who created you is the one who determined your purpose, not you. Like, I don't get to determine my purpose. I get to discover my purpose. I get to develop myself for that purpose. I get to deploy myself in that purpose, but I don't get to decide that purpose. Are y'all tracking? Because God made me for what he made me for. And he didn't make me for what he made you for, and he didn't make you for what he made me for. And that's why I don't have to be jealous of you and you don't have to be jealous of me, because we all have our own assignment. And so God has this umbrella of authority and protection and authority. And then we are under that, an umbrella of authority and protection. And as long as I'm under God's authority and I'm in alignment with my assignment, then I get to rule over an assignment that's under my authority and protection. And as long as I'm yielded to God's sovereignty in my assignment has to be yielded to me. And when I get out from under God's umbrella of authority and protection, then my assignment is no longer under me, because my assignment's going to stay under God, whether I do or not. And so when I resist the assignment that God created me for, I'm resisting my purpose, I'm resisting my fulfillment, I'm resisting my profitability, I'm resisting my success, because the actual definition of success is to discover the purpose for which we were created, develop ourselves for that purpose, deploy ourselves in that purpose. And if you do something else, you're not successful. You may make a lot of money, but you're not successful. You may be a high achiever in an arena that is not your own, but you are not successful. So you have to first get in alignment with your assignment, and that begins with discovering your assignment. Now, the question then becomes, how do I discover my assignment? Well, I wish I had some help in here. So how do I discover my assignment? I discover my assignment first and foremost by yielding to the God who created me before I know what the assignment is. Because God's not in the business of negotiating with humans. And so, tell you what, God, if you tell me what my assignment is and I like it, I'll do it. Wrong answer, but we do have some nice consolation prizes for you in the back. That's not how this works. This ain't that. And so, instead of negotiating, just like yield, okay, I want my life to be whatever God created it to be. And if that means that I am going to reign like King David and kill giants, let's go. And if it means I'm going to rule in prosperity and wisdom like King Solomon, let's go. But if it means I'm going to be Ezekiel, and I'm going to have to lay on my side for hundreds of days and not get up to eat, drink, or go to the bathroom as a sermon illustration that God already told me nobody's going to repent over, sign me up. That's what I mean when I say yield to your assignment before you know what it is. That means if you are, like I read the book of Ezekiel when I was a teenager, and I was like, wow, can I be really transparent? My thought was, and I don't know that it's changed much. Wow, I'm glad I didn't have his assignment. God came to Ezekiel, he said, hey, you know that pretty little wife you got? Yeah, she gonna die tonight, but tomorrow don't mourn. Because I wanna show Israel that I'm not gonna mourn when I cut them off. Oh, and by the way, nobody's gonna repent. What? See, this whole God is a genie in a lamp and the lamp is the Bible nonsense. I'm just gonna rub my Bible and like God's gonna give me what I want. That is not biblical. God is not my employee, he's not my genie. Okay. I hate false doctrine so much because it leads people down so many bad paths. And then they end up getting mad at God for something some idiotic human made up and said that God said it when God never said it in the first place. Get in alignment with your assignment and then realize that boundaries build bonds that create freedom. What does that even mean? If my front door is unlocked and somebody comes walking in, what kind of greeting they're going to get when they cross that boundary is determined by who they are. Right? Because that boundary is not just a boundary around my house, that boundary is a boundary around my family. So if the front door opens and my daughter walks in with my granddaughter, they get a very different greeting than if some joker walks in there talking about, yeah, just, we just came to rob you. Okay. Good luck with that. That's going to be a different greeting, right? Y'all, I consider y'all, do y'all consider me to be a friend? I consider y'all to be friends, right? If I came to your house and I knocked on the door and you opened the door and you saw it was me, what would you say? Hi, come in, right? But what if you heard some noise in the kitchen at 4 o'clock in the morning and you come down there and I got head and shoulders in the window climbing in your house? Am I going to get a different greeting? It's a totally different greeting. Why? Because boundaries are what create bonds. Boundaries, like you cannot have freedom without boundaries. It's interesting that Romans chapter 7 really deals with this so beautifully because it teaches us that freedom from anything is bondage to its opposite. Did I say that too fast? See, here's what Romans chapter 7 says. It says, to be free from sin is to be bound by righteousness. To be free from righteousness is to be bound by sin. All freedom is a form of bondage, and all bondage is a form of freedom. You just got to pick which one you want, which side of that equation you want. You cannot have freedom without boundaries. Do you understand why we were able to drive here in the cars today? Because there are these little lines down the middle of the road called boundaries. We don't call them boundaries, but that's what they are. And they're called boundaries. And here's what they mean. You stay on your side, I'm going to stay on my side. You cannot have freedom without boundaries. That's one of the reasons why these people that don't understand, like, you have to have, if you're going to have a country, you have to have a legal way for people to enter the country, or you lose control of you have no more freedom. And people who don't understand that are delusional because freedom can only exist inside of boundaries. So if we're going to be unified, We have to have boundaries. We have to have boundaries. We have to have boundaries for ourselves. There have to be lines that we won't cross. We have to have boundaries in our relationships. We have to have boundaries in our finances. It's so interesting how people make decisions, make bad decisions as if boundaries don't exist. And then when they suffer the consequence of the trespass, because that's what trespass means, right? The word trespass means to cross over the line. And then they're shocked. How are you shocked? So boundaries build bonds that are based on freedom. Congruence creates connection. So one of the things that I've got, it's so interesting because as I'm taking my guitar lessons, right? And when my guitar teacher gives me an assignment, something to practice, and I first start doing it, it's like, well, this is so unnatural. Well, let's start with this. Playing a musical instrument is really pretty unnatural. Like sports is kind of unnatural. Like golf is really unnatural. It's like the most unnatural of unnaturals. But it's also the most magnificent of magnificent sports. But anyway, like playing a guitar is unnatural. And I remember the first time I ever saw somebody play a guitar, like they were changing chords. I thought, how do they move their fingers that fast? Like, how do they get their fingers there in time to play the chords? Did anybody else ever wonder that? And it seemed impossible until I learned how to do it. And I was like, oh, it wasn't impossible. It was just a little challenging because I hadn't yet prepared myself to do it. Okay, so like there's some times you have to put your fingers in some really, really contorted ways in order to, and what's happening is you're setting up a neural pathway between your brain and your body. You're creating this connection. But one of the things that I discovered that destroys the congruence that a lot of people have is when they look at something they desire to accomplish or they look at some activity they desire to participate in, they assign a level of difficulty to that activity before they even endeavor to do it. And that literally inhibits your ability to create congruence in that arena. So what happens is when you assign a level of difficulty, now you're attempting to do it believing that it's hard, and the only thing, and it may be hard, but it doesn't help you to decide that it's hard before you do it. So if you say, okay, yeah, this is a little challenging, but it's not more challenging than I am champion. Yeah, it's a little difficult, but it's not more difficult than I am determined. If you approach it like that, then it doesn't matter how hard anything is. Because there's really nothing you can't do. You realize that, right? Okay, there's like, I mean, within like, there's so many, here's what I'm gonna say, I'll say it a different way. There's nothing you can't do. There are so many things we do today that seemed impossible only 50 years ago. So many more things we do today that seemed impossible 100 years ago. Even more 200 years ago. Like some stuff we do today with our phones and air travel, man, you'd have been burnt at the stake 150 years ago, walking around with a cell phone, looking at, he put those people in that little thing in his hand, right? They wouldn't even get it. And so my challenge to you is, like, be congruently connected to who God says you are, and then and only then can you be congruently connected to what God says you can do. And when God said, be fruitful, multiply, replenish the earth, subdue it, when he said subdue it, subdue means to trample. And if God's, so be fruitful means to produce on the outside based on what God put on the inside. Multiply means to increase. Replenish means to fill up the earth with the stuff you've increased. And then subdue means to stomp or to trample. That one doesn't seem to fit, does it? Except God's showing us a pattern. Everybody say pattern. Showing us a pattern. What's the pattern? Disruption always follows intention. I was thinking about this last night when I was laying in bed and my arm wouldn't move and my toe felt like it was going to explode. And I'm laying there thinking, I just started this workout program. Now I can't move my stupid arm. Oh, this must be the perfect workout program for me because disruption always follows intention. You see the difference? As opposed to saying, no, you know, I knew I was too old to exercise. That's what I would have liked to said. I would have loved to have said that. Yeah, old people ain't supposed to exercise. No, we ain't supposed to do that, right? But that's not the conclusion I came to. Okay, this is the exercise program for me because on my first day, I literally get my assignment last night and torture myself. Okay, so we have to develop this level of congruence. It's interesting. I bought this machine that retrains the nervous system and strengthens muscle and does all it strengthens the signal between your brain and your body. It's electronic muscle and nerve stimulation machine. Well, this machine was like $18,000 a couple years ago. It's probably $25,000 now. But when I bought it, I went to a 5-day training to learn how to use it. Like 5 days, all day for 5 days. And other than 2 other people, everybody in the room was a doctor. Me and 2 other people, and everybody else were doctors. Okay, so I was talking to the guy, Garrett, the guy who was training us on this machine. I was like, "Yeah, man, I don't know, man. I just can't. I'm losing distance in my golf shots around." He's like, "Okay, let me ask you a question." He said, "What do you think your brain is more interested in? You being able to hit a 300-yard drive with your driver, or not hurting yourself?" Not hurting myself, right? He said, your brain will automatically restrict some movements if it knows that if you pull that movement off, you're going to hurt yourself. That's why athletes, sometimes they are in a zone and sometimes they're not. Like sometimes they just can't pull it off. Like sometimes, even in your sport, how many of y'all know what I'm talking about? In your sport, sometimes it just doesn't work. I'm like, I was able to do this yesterday, or I was able to do this last week, right? But but maybe you slept on your arm wrong, right? Or maybe you twisted your neck or had too many pillows or something, and now your body's like, no, you can't do that move today, right? Proprioception is the ability to know where you are in space and be able to move your body in a particular way, and sometimes your brain will just restrict it and put you on lockdown and won't let you make those moves. Well, I'm telling you that your belief in your ability to achieve a thing is one of those mechanisms that frees you up to do it. Your lack of ability to believe that you are able to do the thing is one of the things that keeps you from doing it. Like, you have to become hyper obsessive about being congruent. Like, and I know this is not the most exciting topic in the world, but I don't like people planting word seeds in my brain that I don't want to reap a harvest for, right? Because every deed is a seed, every word is a seed, every thought is a seed, every dollar is a seed that I'm sowing into the garden of my future. So sometimes people will say things to you because based on their belief, and if you don't verbally reject it, and maybe this isn't true, but for me, it feels like it's true. Is that transparent enough? Yeah. If I don't verbally reject it, I feel like I'm going to allow that seed to take root in my brain, and I ain't having it. So if somebody says to me, Myron, oh, don't worry, everything's going to be, I don't worry. And I literally will say that, I don't worry. In fact, it's been so long since I've worried, I've forgotten how to do it. I will almost always say that when somebody says to me, don't worry. Why? Because you worry, I'm not going to let you assume that I worry. Right. And I'm not going to accept it. No, oh, no, Myron, it's going to be okay. I know it's going to be okay. Did I look concerned? You say, what am I saying? Like, you have to be very, very hyper intentional to protect your mind from ideas that are subversive. That's why the scripture says, keep thy heart with all diligence, for out of it are the issues of life. What does that mean? That means you have to guard your heart with all diligence, for what you let into your heart comes out of your life. Once you let it in your heart, you can't stop it from producing a fruit, but you can stop it from getting in there in the first place. So it says, keep thy heart with all diligence, for out of it are the issues of life. And then it says, put away from thee a froward mouth, perverse lips put far from thee. Let thine eyes look right on, and thine eyelids look straight before you. Ponder the paths of thy feet. Let all thy ways be established. He's telling us you have to protect your heart. You have to protect your sound gate and your sight gate and your schedule gate and your standard gate from allowing things in that are going to produce fruit that are going to destroy your life. So, decisions determine direction. Some people are very, very bad at making decisions, and they have very, very weak decision-making muscles because they don't ever make decisions, they just make choices. And you can tell, because they're like a fish on the sidewalk in Florida in July. They're just flip-flopping all the time. Flip-flop, 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 because they don't know how to make a decision. And when you make a decision, the word decide, over from, side to cut, you cut yourself off from any other possibility. And that's what determines the direction that you go, making real decisions. Stop choosing and start deciding. Say, Myron, what do you mean stop choosing and start deciding? Choose. Here's what choose means. Pick one. But if you pick one today, you might pick a totally different one tomorrow. But when you decide, it's a wrap. How many of y'all are tracking? Like, I decided a long time ago, when I first started developing a level of abundance and wealth in my life, I felt really, really guilty. I'm just really going to be like, I felt like, I didn't feel guilty like I wanted to give it back. I didn't feel that guilty. Okay. I wasn't crazy or delusional, but I felt like, wow, like I see all these people working like three-legged mules all around me, and I'm not really working that hard. And I remember I was making $30,000 a month, and I'm thinking, I'm making $30,000 a month. They're barely making $30,000 a year, and they're working way harder than me. I'm just working on different stuff. And I thought, I used to give away money just because I felt bad that I had so much more than other people. I don't do that anymore. I don't apologize for being rich. Like, I don't justify being, like, people say, well, yeah, our business makes a lot of money, but we give to blah, blah, blah. I'm not doing that. Why? Because it's not necessary. I don't have to justify why I brush my teeth. You already know why. If I don't, my breath is going to be bad. My teeth are going to rot out of my head, right? I don't have to justify. Like, we act like because we bought into the cultural hypnotic societal mechanism's lie, wealth is wickedness and poverty is piety, we feel like we have to apologize for being rich. I just don't do it anymore. I don't rationalize it. I don't justify it. It just is the byproduct of the assignment that I'm on and the people I serve. It is what it is. I'm not going to apologize for it. And so you have to make some decisions. There are business decisions that I have made. Like, I don't want everybody buying my coaching programs. There are some people I just don't want them. I don't want them in my coaching programs. So you know what I do? I make sure everybody knows who I am up front. Yes, I teach business based on biblical principles. I'm not going to back in the door. I don't want business so bad that I'm going to act like I believe something I don't believe or act like I don't believe something I do believe. I'm not going to go along to get along. I'm not going to let some politically correct, morally incorrect tool back me into a corner with a bunch of goofball questions that are self-contradictory in the end anyway, and feel like, I remember when a certain evangelical pastor was on Larry King Live, and he asked him if he believed that the Bible taught that homosexuality was wrong, and he said, this is the only time I've ever seen this guy uncomfortable in my life. I'm like, what are you doing, bro? That's an easy answer. Yeah, I believe the Bible says homosexuality is wrong. The Bible says adultery is wrong. The Bible says fornication is wrong. Like, drunkenness is wrong. Yeah. And just because I say that those things are wrong doesn't mean I hate those people. That means it's wrong. Why is it wrong? Because God said so. And if that's not the reason, there is no reason. You say, Myron, what's your point? Well, if Larry King would have asked me that, I would have said, let me ask you a question, Mr. King, and then I'll answer your question when you answer mine. Do you believe that Jesus Christ is the Son of God and the only way a person can have eternal life? What do you think Larry King would have said to that? No, I don't believe that. Okay, then I would have asked him this question. If I don't need you to believe what I believe in order for me to believe it, why do you need me to believe what you believe in order for you to believe it? Could it be the reason you're attempting to pressure me into a politically correct answer is because you already know in your heart of hearts that what you say you believe is wrong? See, what happens is when these politically correct, morally incorrect tools attempt to put us on the back foot, we capitulate and retreat instead of going on the offense. But see, I was reading the Bible, and when Goliath, who, by the way, wanted to enslave God's people, that's what he said, if I win, you be our slaves, if you win, we'll be yours. If he wanted to enslave God's people, everybody else ran from Goliath. David ran toward him. Right. David didn't go on the defense against Goliath. David went on the offense against Goliath. Okay, anyway, just wondering if anybody's picking up what I'm putting down. The last thing I'm going to say is this: exclusion elevates excellence. What does that mean? I say this all the time as I'm coaching people. Anything that's for everybody is also for nobody. Oh, my product's good for everybody. Oh, my service is good for everybody. Oh, my business is good for everybody. Well, if you are delusional enough to believe that, then I am smart enough to know I don't need to buy anything from you. Guess what? Neiman Marcus knows they don't want Walmart's customers. Walmart knows they don't want Neiman Marcus's customers. Why? Because they understand that anything's good for everybody is also good for nobody. Exclusion elevates excellence. You have to determine who you're going to serve and how you're going to serve them. And whatever that answer is, it can't be everybody. Now, here's when I say that, like, I believe it's my responsibility to serve every human being I come across. But it's not my responsibility to serve every human being I come across in business. There are some people in business that I just need to leave them alone and they need to leave me alone so we can both be happy, right? But that's not going to happen if I'm a chameleon and I'm attempting to appeal to everybody because I want the money. The money is the byproduct. The money is not, like, I like being rich. It's way better than being poor. I've been both. And I was poor for longer than I was rich, but fortunately, I got richer than I was poor when I was poor. And I like being rich. But I don't love the money the most. I love the people. The money's just the byproduct. The money is the tool. The money is the gravy. It's not the mashed potatoes. It's the icing. It's not the cake. It's the bonus. It's not the salary. Living in your purpose, that's the real paycheck. And in order to do that, you can't have something that's for everyone. It can't be for everyone. You have to decide who you're going to help, how you're going to help them. And when you do that, when you apply this level of alignment and congruency and unification to your life in your 20s, along with the communication and the imagination, and then the next video will be on implementation. When you do that, it'll take your life to a level that you previously could not have imagined. Like 10 years ago, I had absolutely zero conceptual idea that a life as good as the one I'm living now even existed, let alone that it would be mine. And so, apply these principles, get in alignment with your assignment, set up some boundaries, develop some congruence, become decisive, and operate from a position of exclusional excellence. We're doing our challenge this week. There's a guy, he came on yesterday between the VIP experience and the general admission. He said, man, we've been thinking about this $60,000 offer for our clients for months now. And I was like nervous about pulling the trigger. And after listening to Myron on Monday, I said, I'm just going to do it. We put out the $60,000 offer. In less than 30 minutes, somebody bought it. And this was the testimony he gave yesterday. He said in the first 3 days, we sold 6 of them. He brought in an extra $360,000 because he became unified. And he stopped being a double-minded man in the arena of his pricing. I hope this blesses you. In the meantime, in between time, stay blessed by the best, and we'll see you on the next video. Bye for now.